Sometimes a hero has doubts. How does he deal with that? And how do you? Stage 2 of the hero's journey. Overcoming the refusal. Now, what's the refusal? The refusal is the moment when the hero has heard the calling and he thinks to himself, yeah, I don't really know. Can I really do that? Is that for me? Now, I said in the previous video, what distinguishes the hero is that he sees the opportunity. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have doubts. And you'll find a lot of myths where the hero actually doubts or is uncertain or expresses certain types of uncertainty. Probably the most famous example is the prophet Jonah, who, when God gave him a mission, said, yeah, well, I don't think so, probably not, and he ran away from it. And then the whole thing with the whale happened, which I may mention in the next video. So, just because you're a hero doesn't mean you're completely confident about being able to do the task. Moses, like the greatest prophet in the Bible, said, I'm not sure I can do this. And we find this in modern tales just as well. For example, Luke Skywalker, when he first meets Obi-Wan Kenobi, he goes like, yeah, I don't think this Jedi thing's for me. Sounds all great, and I'm sure it's really important to save the universe, but I've got some farming to do. It doesn't really sound like a Jedi yet. Well, you get the idea. A similar situation is with Bilbo in The Lord of the Rings, when Gandalf comes and says, hey, here's a dragon treasure to be found. Bilbo isn't so convinced about this. He doesn't think that's a good idea. So, the hero is uncertain about being able to do the task. And let's face it, even though some heroes are portrayed in myths as if they'd never had doubts, it's an intelligent thing to do that. It's an important phase to discuss, like, okay, well, we're fighting a dragon, and dragons, they spit fire, and it's dangerous. So, spend a moment to think about it. That's not wrong. You should be doing that. That's healthy. But what about the heroes who don't seem to do that? Well, you'll very often find in mythology that's actually still part of the myth. Only because this particular hero is supposed to be portrayed as somebody who has no doubts, it's usually some external voice. So the doubts can be internal or external. So maybe the herald tells about this great opportunity, and then some guy comes like, yeah, but it's dangerous, don't do it. And the hero goes like, no, I'm going to do it. So you still have the same interaction. Somebody saying, this is the chance, and these are the doubts. And then the hero must, in the end, of course, overcome the refusal to become a hero. So that's the whole situation in mythology. And the symbol we've used to represent this stage is the symbol of a man standing between an angel and the devil. And this is like a classical theme. You'll find that in a lot of cartoons, actually. I believe Donald Duck was one of the earliest characters who was portrayed like that in cartoons. And it's like a classical scene. It actually comes right from mythology. In fact, it goes way back to ancient mythology. For example, there's a story about Heracles or Hercules being on the crossroads, and there is virtue and vice, both giving him a choice which path to take. Now, of course, he takes the path of virtue and becomes the hero we all know. So, what does this have to do with us? How does this metaphor speak to us? On our project that we wanted to achieve and still want, I guess, we set a goal. And once we've set a goal, we gathered information, looked for opportunities, and now we have to evaluate the information. So we have the information, there is a dragon, there is a treasure, there is a princess. We need to evaluate it, we need to think like, okay, how much treasure do I get to defeat the dragon, and how beautiful is the princess, and do I have any tools or weapons to fight the dragon? Do I even know how to kill a dragon? And once I've gone through all this, I need to make a decision. And if I feel, yeah, that's doable, I overcome the refusal. If I don't think it's doable, I'm still in doubt. But it's not, evaluating information isn't all about doubts. It's any information. So we talked about a job interview, for example. So, we have some information about this particular company. What do we do with this? Is this a restriction? Is this, so we know this is what I will make in terms of income. So we have to evaluate that. Will that be enough? This is what they will probably offer me. Is this going to be enough? Or we have information about what they expect in the resume. So I think, oh, this is an advantage, this is a disadvantage. And then we can deal with that. It's not even about having doubts, it's just knowing. This particular company expects me to come in a suit. This particular company expects me to be like, if I came in a suit, they'd all think like I'm crazy, So I need to know what's going on. And I need to evaluate where are the resources, where are the obstacles, where are the limitations. I need to know all this stuff. Even if I don't have a doubt, at least I need to have the information. This is not enough to see things, but I need to know, what does that mean? I need to make use of the information. That's very, very important. It's not just having the information, especially in the information age, as some people call this time. You've got all kinds of information on the internet, but what does it mean? In a sense, that's exactly what we do in this video. I tell you about the hero's journey, but the second step is to know, what does it mean? Okay, so the hero has the refusal and he needs to overcome that. How does this help me in my project? Well, that's how it helps you. It helps you to understand that the second stage is to evaluate your information. So that's what it means. The information about the hero's journey needs to be evaluated to be understood. Any information needs to be evaluated. So don't forget this important step, because sometimes we already think we know what it means, but you have to go through this process. If the hero hasn't gone through this process of overcoming the refusal, he's not really on board. He doesn't really know what he's into. And you sometimes get figures like that. For example, think of Pippin in the Lord of the Rings, where everybody goes like, okay, we're going to go to Khazad-dûm. And he goes like, yeah, I'm with it. Where are we going? And he's the character who, takes a longer time than everybody else to be fully committed, to be fully, a resourceful person in the whole process. Use this as a reminder to evaluate your information and get as much juice out of the information as possible. The opportunity, that's your oranges that you find, but the orange juice is only what you get when you evaluate the information. So I hope that was valuable for you, and if it was, please like and subscribe, and hopefully see you in the next video. One more thing. I wonder, how about you? Have you ever wanted to achieve a goal and then there were certain doubts that held you back? And did you overcome them? If you want, please tell us in the comments. See you soon in the next video.